Hi, everybody. This is Adam Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology, and these are your horoscopes for the month of August 2019. This is the Sun and Rising sign horoscope for Aries. So the month is pretty low key, in my opinion, compared to last month. So if you had a rocky eclipse season, hopefully this month will be a little bit easier on you. I think we all sort of went through it a little bit last month. So here's to slightly smoother sailing ahead. The month begins with a new moon in Leo in your fifth house, a big stellium of planets really on July 31st into today, August 1st. And this places the emphasis on the fifth house in the month ahead. The whole lunar cycle of August will be focused, in a sense, on the fifth house because that's where the seed of the new moon is being planted. And that's a house that was traditionally called the house of good fortune, of joy, pleasure. It's related to romance, it's related to beauty, to sports. It's related to creativity and the arts. And it's also related to children and pregnancy. So, an interesting range of topics that are all sort of part of the fifth house. But the general meaning of the fifth house has to do with joy and fun and pleasure. And so this month may be focused for you upon your creative life or what constitutes healthy versus unhealthy forms of pleasure or recreation. Always kind of a question, especially when you've also got Mars going through that house. Though Mars can be a little bit, a little bit more reckless in the fifth house, can be, just that if you're out with friends and you just kind of have one too many, or you do something, you just go a little too far. Mars in the fifth house this month, you want to be a little careful of that. But otherwise, the new moon is also taking off in a square to Uranus in your second house of money and finances. This could be a month where there's some real unexpected developments, disruptions, innovations around money, finances, business. I'm going to be careful of speculative, things like gambling or high risk investing. You also want to be careful about just sort of impulse purchases or paying a high price for something that's really maybe more of a luxury type of experience. Now, the other thing, generally speaking, is that the Venus-Uranus square that starts the month for you between the fifth and the second house may also emphasize the need for greater experimentation, creativity in love and relationships, the need to experiment with style. That's all Venus-Uranus territory. The need for greater independence and freedom can be especially pronounced. And so the second and fifth house have a lot to do with our material things, with money, with pleasure, with food, with our desires and appetites. So you want to watch for those things this month, and maybe there's some kind of breakthrough that you're having too in terms of getting a little bit healthier, or just finding a new creative outlet or avenue. Those would be on my radar for all Aries Sun, Aries Rising folks this month. Now, the next thing that's happening is right around August 6th to August 8th. We're going to see two things happening. Both Venus and the Sun are going to go through trines to Jupiter in your ninth house. This is nice because the Sun and Venus syncing up in trines to Jupiter in the ninth typically will bring, beneficial or pleasing or excitable, enjoyable, even romantic experiences, sometimes through travel, sometimes through something spiritual, sometimes involving something academic, or sometimes meeting allies or beneficial people or influences in a school setting or in some kind of retreat setting, or even while traveling abroad. Also just beneficial connections with friends or lovers in terms of sharing ideals, beliefs, political or philosophical sort of convictions, making allies that are of the same mindset, basically. So that's a nice little window between the 6th and the 8th with trines to Jupiter in your ninth house. That'll also just bring in supporting presence for your ideals and your kind of your goals and ambitions right now. A lot of fire in the air with a lot of support from Jupiter. Now, we go forward from there, and the next sort of major thing that's happening is, here we go, right between like the 11th and the 15th, Venus is going to be Cazimi. This is a really empowered moment for Venus, who happens to be the ruler of both your house of love and relationships, Libra ruled, or your second house of finances. So maybe a positive time for friends, something that Venus rules, as well as lovers or romance or even finances or money, just some kind of fortunate circumstance that comes in right around the 11th to like the 15th, right about through the full moon, which is nice because the full moon on the 15th brings in the energy of the 11th house, which has a lot to do with groups of people and friends and benefactors and allies and groups, groups that you belong to, maybe for professional reasons, or maybe that have to do with your social life in a general sense, or even your spiritual life. There's a real emphasis on those communities in this moon cycle, and it may be in a little bit of tension with there may be some healthy sort of creative tension within groups or social circles or among friends or even with lovers, some social or sort of cultural tension somehow. But yeah, I think overall it should be pretty positive. The other thing that you note about Venus Cazimi is that there's a real empowered theme around women, love. The sort of goddess is being empowered by being at the heart of the sun, most around the middle of the month. The next thing that happens beyond this is right around the 18th, Mars is going to dip into Virgo in the 6th house. And then we have just this swarm of Virgo energy between the 24th and the 25th, or the 23rd and the 25th. Right around there, you're going to see Venus conjoining with Mars right as the sun enters Virgo. And then on the 29th, you're going to see, back it up right there, you're going to see Mercury enter Virgo, right? And then on the 30th, there's a new moon in Virgo as well. So really a huge lineup of Virgo energy coming into your 6th house towards the very end of August. Now, the thing that you need to know about that is that the basic energy of the 6th house has a lot to do with hard work, labor. It's the nitty gritty. It's the stuff we don't necessarily like doing, but a lot of progress, a lot of productivity can come through having so much energy in the 6th house. 6th house can also be a place where, we're having to deal with mundane details. And for an Aries, sometimes that's really aggravating. It can kind of be like a feeling of something nagging at you, or something difficult that kind of holds you back, slows you up, gets you bogged down in practical stuff, but stuff that might kind of slow your roll. At the same time, the idea of being of service, of working towards something, of being detail oriented, perfecting something, or even putting yourself into some kind of service for others, that could come through as well from the end of August through the lunar cycle to come that takes us into September. So I apologize if you can hear noises in the background today. There's some work is being done on my house, so if it's noisy, I apologize. I hope you have a great month of August, all you Aries out there. Tell me how things are going, and we'll have a lot more to say with the fall equinox coming up in September, which is always big for Aries and Libras. All right, take care, everyone. Bye.